Shalom, Israel.
Shalom.
Shalom to all the viewers online and everybody that's in the audience. All praises to the Most High for y'all being here. Today, we're going to go into the life and wisdom of King Solomon. The title of the message today is The Life and Wisdom of King Solomon. All right, so we're going to try to get all the edification we can regarding this topic, okay? So open your notebooks, get your pens ready, and let's get to learning. My name is Banaya Banya Shirala, and to my left,
My name is Aman Allah.
we're going to get right to it. Is that good up? Con. So I got a question for the audience to start off. Does anybody know what Solomon's name, what it means? Anybody in the audience by any chance? Nobody? Okay, his name means peaceful. Okay, Solomon, his name means peaceful because while he was in rulership, Israel, we didn't have any wars. You know what I'm saying? It was a peaceful time in the nation. Okay, it was a time of building. So we're going to get right into it. My first precept is 2 Samuel 12 and 24. Okay, let's get right to it. 2 Samuel chapter 12.
Verse 24. And David comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went in unto her, and lay with her, and she bare a son, and he called his name Solomon, and the Lord loved him.
Right, so let's stop right there. So, this is the birth of Solomon right here. We got to remember what David did. David committed adultery, right? Okay, with Uriah the Hittite, his wife. Okay, and Bathsheba eventually became his wife, all right? David and Bathsheba had a first son that was killed. The Most High killed him, okay? Right. And Solomon would be their second son. So just keep that in mind. But in context, when you read 2 Samuel chapter 12, above where we started, that's what you're going into, okay? Go ahead and finish with verse 25.
And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and he called his name Jedaiah, because of the Lord.
Okay, and Nathan the prophet sent him another name, okay? An alias, which was Jedediah. Does anybody know what that means? Jedediah means beloved of Yah, okay? So Solomon was beloved of the Most High, all right? Let me get my next precept. Let's go into 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 28, and let's see how Solomon got anointed, okay? 1 Kings
1 and 28.
1 and 28. We're going to read through 35, and then we're going to do some jumping around. Okay.
Verse 28. Then King David answered and said, Call me Bathsheba. And she came into the king's presence and stood before the king. And the king sware and said, As the Lord liveth, that hath redeemed my soul out of all distress, even as I swear unto thee by the Lord God of Israel, saying, Assuredly Solomon thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne in my stead.
So David is telling his wife Bathsheba what time it is regarding their son, okay? Our son is going to be the king of Israel, okay? He's going to fill my stead. When I'm done, he's going to step up. Continue.
Even so will I certainly do this day. Then Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth, and did reverence to the king, and said, Let my lord King David live forever. And King David said, Call me Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaniah the son of Jehoiada. And they came before the king.
Right, so Solomon's about to get anointed. David said, Zadok the priest come, Nathan the prophet, you guys come. I need a witness, go ahead.
And the king also said unto them, Take with you the servants of your lord, and cause Solomon my son to ride upon mine own mule, and bring him down to Gihon. And let Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him there.
Do what?
Anoint him there, king over Israel. And blow ye with the trumpet, and say, God save King Solomon.
Continue, 35.
Then ye shall come up after him, that he may come and sit upon my throne, for he shall be king in my stead. And I have appointed him to be ruler over Israel and over Judah.
So ruler over Israel and over Judah, okay? That's both the northern and southern kingdom, all right? We're going to drop down to verse 39. Read 39 and 40.
Verse 39, and Zadok the priest took an horn of oil out of the tabernacle and anointed Solomon, and they blew the trumpet, and all the people said, God save King Solomon.
Right, so all the people were in agreement, all right? Solomon is now our king. Continue.
And all the people came up after him, and the people piped with pipes and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth rent with the sound of them.
Right, so it was a big celebration because everybody was familiar with his father, King David. You know what I'm saying? King David was an honest, upright ruler, okay? He was a righteous man, and they expected the same thing of his son, King Solomon, okay? So now we're going to move over to the next book. We're getting David's instructions to King Solomon, okay? This is what I need you to do, son. When you're anointed in my stead, give me 1 Kings 2, 1 through 4. This is what you got to do, and this is what you got to keep in the forefront of your mind right here, okay?
1 Kings 1, 2. Wherefore his servant said unto him,
Salakia, 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 1 through 4.
my bad, chapter 2,
Yep.
verse 1. Now the days of David drew nigh, and he should die. And he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man.
So King David, he's about to croak, you know what I'm saying? He know his time is done, so he's telling his son Solomon, look, be strong in the law, statutes, and commandments. All right, remember what I taught you. Continue.
And keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses.
Why?
That thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. That the Lord may continue his word which he spake concerning me, saying, if thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth, with all their heart and with all their soul, there shall not fall thee, said he, a man on the throne of Israel.
So look, son, if you just stick to the blueprint, the same blueprint that we got as a nation in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 4 through what, roughly 8 or 9, okay? Teach your sons, and then our sons should teach their sons, and so on and so forth. That's how we got the law nowadays, okay? Our ancestors taught it to their seed, and so on and so forth. So that's still the blueprint that we have to stick to today, and that's the blueprint that King David gave his son Solomon, okay? Now we're going to continue on and move over to 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 1, okay?
1 Kings chapter 3 and verse 1.
1 Kings chapter 3, verse 1, and this is Solomon's prayer for wisdom. Once he got anointed to becoming the king, now he's asking the Most High for a request. Let's see what that is.
Verse 1, and Solomon made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and took Pharaoh's daughter. And
Right, Salakia. So he made an affinity, meaning he made an ally or a courtship, okay? Continue.
and brought her into the city of David, until he had made an end of building his own house, and the house of the Lord, and the wall of Jerusalem round about.
Come on.
Only the people sacrificed in high places, because there was no house built unto the name of the Lord.
So the people sacrifice in high places, meaning the mountains and the terrains and things of that nature, where our people used to build altars, right? Only because there was no temple built at that time. Continue.
Until those days. And Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt incense in high places. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Solomon offer upon the altar.
How many burnt offerings?
1,000 burnt offerings.
Right, so that's a lot of sacrifices and a lot of offerings. But continue, verse 5.
In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, Ask what I shall give thee.
So the Most High appeared to him and said, look, you offered 1,000 sacrifices. I'm listening. You got my attention. What do you want, Solomon? What's your request? Go ahead.
And Solomon said, Thou hast shown unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him great kindness, this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is today.
Heavenly Father, I can't believe that you treated my dad with such kindness. Okay, you was good to him. And basically, hopefully, that's what Solomon is looking for. The same treatment that the Most High gave his dad. That's what his desire is. Continue.
And now, O Lord my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in.
He said, look, but I'm so young, I really don't know how to do this. I don't know how to run the office of being the king of Israel. Okay, so that's what Solomon is saying. I don't know how to go in or go out, come in or go out. I don't know what to do. But go ahead, let's see how his faith is. Continue.
And thy servant is in the midst of thy people which thou hast chosen, a great people.
Israel is what?
A great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people.
See, right there. So that gives you an idea of what kind of character he had. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for a lot of wives. You know, he didn't ask for property. What did he say? Read it from the top.
Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
For who is able to judge this thy so great a people?
So basically, yeah, a precept to 1 Kings 3 and 9, a clear-cut precept to show that he asked for wisdom. Let's go there real quick. 2 Chronicles 1 and 10. 2 Chronicles 1 and 10. It's the same story. So once you get familiar with the life of Solomon in the scriptures, you'll know that 1 Kings chapter 1 all the way to 11 is his life, and also in 2 Chronicles chapter 1 all the way to chapter 9.
Reading that now.
Just to let you guys know.
Verse 10. Give me now wisdom and knowledge, that I may go out and come in before this people. For who can judge this thy people that is so great?
So he asked for wisdom and knowledge. Now let's go back to 1 Kings.
Verse 10. Continue.
1 Kings, pick it up at verse, where were we?
We ended verse 9.
Right, pick it up at verse 10.
Verse 10.
1 Kings chapter 3, verse 10.
And the speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked this thing. And God said unto him, Because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked for riches for thyself, nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment, behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any rise like unto thee.
So the Most High says, Solomon, what a request. Since you did that, look, I'm going to make you one of the greatest kings ever to sit on the throne of Israel, okay? There won't be any before you, like you now, or after you, okay? Go ahead and give me, let's read 13 and 14.
Right, verse 13. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor.
What?
Both riches and honor.
So we see he has wisdom, he has riches, and he has honor. Continue.
So that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. And if thou wilt walk in my ways, and to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days.
And if you do everything your dad did, okay, keep the commandments, be a man after the Most High's heart and things of that nature, I'm going to allow you to live a long life, okay? So that's what the Most High promised Solomon in exchange for obedience, okay? Now let's drop down and go to, you know what, you're going to pick up at verse 16, and now we're going to deal with Solomon's wisdom and judgment, okay? Let's pay close attention here. Don't worry about 15. Drop down to 16. We're going to deal with Solomon's wisdom and judgment, okay? Because now he's on the throne. Now it's time for action. So let's see.
Verse 16.
Uh-huh.
Then came there two women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him.
Right? Two women, two harlots. Okay. Go ahead.
And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house.
Right. We both live in the same house. I had a child in the house. Continue.
And it came to pass the third day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house.
So she had a baby 3 days after me. It was only us and both our children in the house. No one else was in the house. But continue.
And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it.
And her child died last night because she overlaid it. She rolled over and killed the baby on accident, right? Continue.
And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom.
Right. So, and you know what she did? She switched her child out for mine, and now I'm laying with a dead child, right? And she has my child that's alive. But continue.
And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead.
Right. I rose to breastfeed, but my child was dead in the morning. Continue.
But when I had considered it in my, but when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear.
She said what?
Behold, it was not my son which I did bear.
I found out that this is not my son right here. Okay? Go ahead.
And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son.
And the other woman refuted her and said, no, you're lying. Okay. She's saying the opposite. The living son is mine and the dead son is yours. But continue.
And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king.
So it was a lot of confusion going on, but they're sitting before Solomon, right? And he's going to judge the matter, right? Continue.
Then said the king, The one saith, This is my son that liveth, thy son is the dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living.
Look, I heard both of you guys out. You're saying one thing, she's saying another, and vice versa. But continue.
And the king said, Bring me a sword, that they brought a sword before the king.
Right, so here's where his wisdom comes in. Listen close. Why would Solomon, can anybody answer that question? Read verse 24 again.
And the king said, Bring me a sword, and they brought a sword before the king.
Does anybody know why he said that? Let's see if, give Bakwash the, yeah. Why would he pose a question like that?
Oh, I thought you.
I mean, not a question, but why would he make a statement like that in verse 24, Bakwash? Bring me a sword.
Well, I know a sword represents many things in the scriptures, like the truth.
Right.
Represents a sword as well. A judgment represents, a sword, and so, I mean, I know this story and I know how it progresses, but I know I just figured it might relate to truth. Like it's
Okay, not quite. Let me help you out. Okay. In this context, it doesn't, and I'm gonna tell you why. Continue reading. Because he knows something at this point. He's gonna figure it out. Why? Because he ahead of the game. Remember, the Most High blessed him with. He was the wisest man, right? So let's see why.
Verse 25.
Because he 2 steps ahead of the women right now. Go ahead.
And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other.
Right. Go ahead.
Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son.
Right, so she's mourning, okay? This is hurting her to have to do that because she knows she's telling the truth and the other woman is lying, right? But continue.
And she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it.
So she said, you know what? This is how he found out. He said, you know what? The child's mother, who this is, she wouldn't want the child cut in half, even though it would grieve her to have to give it up because the other woman is lying. You see what I'm saying? So that's how he found out that, you know what? The woman that willingly gives up the child and said, you know what? Go ahead, it's yours anyway, even though it's really my child. That's really the mother, and that's how he decided that. You see what I'm saying? You guys follow me? Continue.
Verse 27. Then the king answered and
Wait,
said...
stop. Read the end again. But the other said what? The end of 26.
Khan. O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided.
Now that's the woman that actually lost her child. That's the liar right there. You see what I'm saying? Because she said, let it be neither mine nor yours, but divided. Why would you want to kill the child? You see what I'm saying? If it was actually yours. All right, but continue. Verse 27.
27. Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof.
See, that's how he knew, because he was ahead of the game. He said only a real mother wouldn't want the child, you see what I'm saying? Wouldn't want the child divided and cut in half. You, the mother, you know what I'm saying? Out of wisdom. Continue.
And verse 28. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared for the king. They feared the king.
They did what?
They feared the king. For he saw that the wisdom of God, that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment.
To do what?
To do judgment.
So he was wise in wisdom and he was wise in judgment. And they feared. Like, dang, he set her up so cold. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you got Israel looking at that, they like, man, we can't just come at this king sideways. This man is of the Heavenly Father. So now let's move on. Let's get some more. Let's go to chapter 4 real quick.
Okay.
We're going to skim through these chapters. Some we're going to read all the way through. Others we're going to skim through for the sake of time. Let's go to Solomon's officials, because he had a lot of men under him, okay? Solomon was also a leader, okay? Just like Moses, Solomon is a leader. Just like his dad, David, he's also a leader. Let's get 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 1.
1 Kings 4 and 1.
And then you're going to drop down to 7.
Okay. So King Solomon was king over all Israel.
So he was king over all Israel, meaning the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, okay?
Verse 7. And Solomon had 12 officers over all of Israel,
Right.
which provided victuals for the king and his household. Each man his month in a year made provision.
Now tell me this Jake is not the man. He had 12 officers under him, so that's it's 12 months in a year, right? So he said, look, you're the first month, you're the second month, you're the third month, and so on and so forth. You're going to get the groceries and the victuals and everything this month for me. The second guy did the same thing the second month. The third guy the third month, and so on and so forth. Like, he had it like that. That's how powerful and rich he was. You see what I'm saying? Okay? And his house, Salakia, for the king and his household, each man, his month in a year made provision. Okay? So if we work for somebody that was rich, you know what I'm saying? For example, let's just say we work for, I don't know, give me an Israelite name. Rich God, whatever.
I don't know why Kanye is coming to my head.
Khan. I don't want to say Kanye West or nobody like that, but let's just say we work for Denzel Washington, okay? So you would get the first month's provisions, not only for the household, but for the feast as well. You would have to get the Sabbath food, the new moon food, and any other feast that would be that month. You see what I'm saying? Along with the groceries and everything else. So he was responsible for a lot of men, because technically you were going to grocery shop for yourself as well, because you worked for him. You see what I'm saying? So it was a lot going on, but continue. You know what? So verse 2 through 6 had a lot of names of the people that he was over. And 8 through 19 is the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, if you just wanted to get in detail as far as what their names were and things of that nature. Okay, but we're going to skip that part. Now we're going to drop down to 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 20. Let's get more on his wealth and more on his wisdom, okay?
Verse 20. Judah and Israel were many, as the sand which is by the sea in multitude, eating and drinking and making merry.
Right, so just like Hosea 1 and 10 says, we're the sand of the sea. Can you count the grains of sand on the beach, brother? You can't do it, so it's impossible. So it's the same thing with the children of Israel scattered abroad worldwide. We're innumerable, okay? Esau cannot do a census on us. It's impossible because we're always multiplying, meaning having kids and making babies. Right, you guys? All praises. So let's get verse 21.
And Solomon reigned over all kingdoms from the river unto the land of the Philistines, and unto the border of Egypt. They brought presents and served Solomon all the days of his life.
So when he said unto the land of the Philistines. So the land of the Philistines was generally like a region in Syria, okay? And then when you go into Egypt, it says unto the border of Egypt. The border of Egypt, Egypt is also known as Mizraim, and you're dealing with the upper and lower portions of Egypt, okay? Near the border of Palestine, okay? All right, but go ahead.
Verse 22, and Solomon's provisions for one day was 30 measures of fine flour, and 80 measures of meal, 10 fat oxen, and 20 oxen out of the pastures, and 100 sheep, besides harts and roebucks, and fallow deer, and fatted fowl.
So look, this is how much that he used in one day. You see what I'm saying? It says 10 fat oxen, 20 oxen out of the pastures, 100 sheep. A hart is like a male deer, okay? A roebuck is like a gazelle, okay? So all sorts of meats and things of this nature. He used that much meat and that much produce every single day because he fed him and all of his people. You see what I'm saying? So that also gives you an illustration of how much money this Jake had, how rich he was, how wise he was, and how many people that he was over. Okay? Verse 24.
24. For he had dominion over all the region on this side the river, from Tifsah even to Azazah, over all the kings on this side the river, and he had peace on all sides round about him.
He had what on all sides?
He had peace on all sides round about him.
Okay, so Solomon, his name means peaceful, right? So he ruled in peace, all right? Because we know that King David couldn't build the temple because he had a lot of blood on his hands. The Most High made him go to war. He killed Goliath the Philistine, and he was leading the children of Israel and all kind of other armies. So he had battles. So he had a lot of blood on his hands. So the Most High said, you can't build my temple, but I'm going to let your son Solomon do it. And this, it resonates because he's living in a peaceful time. There's no war. You know what I'm saying? So you good to go to build my temple, okay? And we're going to get to that. But when you're dealing with, let me see, verse 24. When you're dealing with from Tifsah, Tifsah is in Mesopotamia, okay? And Azah is in Palestine near the Gaza Strip. Just to give you guys a general area, because I don't want to pass over these locations and you don't know what's going on, okay? Read verse 25.
25. And Judah and Israel dwelt safely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan even to Beersheba, all the days of Solomon.
All the days of Solomon, the Israelites dwelled safely, okay? Both kingdoms, northern and southern kingdom. Okay, continue.
And Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, and 12,000 horsemen.
You hear that? Read that again.
And Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, and 12,000 horsemen.
And 12,000 horsemen, okay? If you had 12,000 horsemen to go do your business, you know, let's go to war, let's fight, let's travel, let's do this, let's do that. That's a lot of men, man. You got 12,000 Jakes to be like, look, this is what I need. You know what I'm saying? But continue.
And those officers provided victual for King Solomon, and for all that came unto King Solomon's table, every man in his month. They lacked nothing.
No, they was poor.
They lacked nothing.
Continue.
Barley also and straw for the horses, and dromedaries brought they unto the place where the officers were, every man according to his charge.
So he had barley and straw for the horses, and a dromedary is a mule. So his horses and mules was eating big, even the animals. Okay? Go ahead.
And God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding exceeding much.
Read that again.
And God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding exceeding much, and largeness of heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore. And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt.
So he had more wisdom than all the children of the east country. Any leader of the other nations that was supposed to be doing it big and was supposed to be the man, look, compared to Solomon, they wasn't nothing. Because all the leaders of the earth that was supposed to be big at that time, they knew about Solomon. You know, they heard about our ancestor and our forefather Solomon, man. Everybody knew about Solomon, okay? There was not anyone who didn't know about Solomon, including the other nations, okay? And all the wisdom of Egypt, okay? And we know how big of a dynasty or a kingdom Egypt was, all right? We was in captivity there, so we already know how Pharaoh was doing it, all right? But go ahead.
Verse 31. For he was wiser than all men, than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman the Chalcol, and Darda the sons of Mahol, and his fame was in all nations round about.
So these had to be prominent Gentile leaders and kings at that time. But the scriptures say that even he was wiser than all of them. You see what I'm saying? And his fame was in all nations round about. So everybody knew about him, okay? Go ahead.
Verse 32. And he spake 3,000 proverbs.
Wait, he did what?
And he spake 3,000 proverbs. And his songs were 1,005.
We're going to stop right there. Does anybody know familiar with any of the books that he wrote? Say it again, brother. He wrote the book of Proverbs. Anybody know another one? Anybody know? You know another one. His name is in one of them. Song of Solomon. Give me one more. I don't have proof, even though it's another one. It's after Proverbs.
The hard
Nope.
one.
He's called the preacher's son. What's after Proverbs? Ecclesiastes. You know, so he was credited with reading all these books. Read verse 24 again.
Verse 20.
Salakia, writing all these books. Go ahead.
Verse 24?
32.
Right, verse 32. And he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005.
Right. So 3,000 proverbs. He's also credited with writing the book. He has 2 psalms, I believe. Let me look them up real quick. One is go to Psalm 72 and 1 real quick. I believe that's one of them, if I remember correctly.
It is.
Read that first verse.
Psalm 72 and 1. Give the king thy judgments, O God, and thy righteousness unto the king's son.
All right, read it out of my phone right here. Read that black part before the verse start.
Psalms 72, a psalm for Solomon.
A song what?
A song for Solomon.
All praises. Now I believe it's one more. Let me see. I believe it's Psalms 1. Let me see. Is it 24 or 42? Just to give you guys an idea of how our ancestor and our forefather looked. I had it written down. I'm not sure. It's not in my notes. It's another one, though. It's one more. I'll try to remember that before the message is over. Psalms 127. Got it. Go to Psalms 127 real quick and 1.
Psalms 127, a song of degrees for Solomon.
Let's read it again.
A song of degrees for Solomon.
Right. So he's also credited with those 2 books in the book of Psalms. Okay, if you know anything about Psalms, it's not one writer all the way through. It's a series of writers. So you got to credit Solomon for the book of Psalms 72 and Psalms 127 and 1. And obviously, if he wrote that much, there are books that he wrote that we don't have access to or we don't know of. All right? So go ahead, though. What was that, 32?
Yeah, we finished up 32.
Go back to 1 Kings 4 and 32. Read it one more time.
Con. Verse 32. And he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005.
Right. So when you're dealing with the book of Song of Solomon, anybody who read with Song of Solomon, you already know he's doing a lot of poetry in there. You know what I'm saying? He's speaking in third person, right? Yep. Bakwa's familiar with that. He's doing a lot of poetry, spoken word, metaphors, similes. Like he in the spirit, you know, big time. And he's speaking in the third person a lot. You know what I'm saying? He's speaking as a woman sometimes. All right? It's no different from you being a writer and you writing a part in a movie for a woman. Does that mean you're a woman? No, it doesn't. Okay? All right? So let's move on. Verse 33.
Verse 33. And he spake of trees, from the cedar tree that is in Lebanon, even unto the hyssop that springeth out of the wall. He spake also of beasts, and of fowl, and of creeping things, and of fishes.
So he was in tune with nature. He was in the spirit. He knew about all kind of different trees, the animals, beasts, fowls, which are birds, creeping things, fishes. He knew that. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, verse 34.
Verse 34. And there came of all people to hear the wisdom of Solomon from all the kings of the earth, which had heard of his wisdom.
Need I say more right there? That's self-explanatory.
Fine.
You know what I'm saying? So let's move on to the next chapter. Let's get some from chapter 5. Okay? These are the preparations for building the temple, right? Because that's who the Most High ordained to build his temple. This was the second temple. All right? What was our first temple? Does anybody know what kind of temple we had in the wilderness? Can anybody help me out? It was a tabernacle, right? Was it an actual building that was built? No. So what was unique about it? Yep. And it moved. It was mobile. Okay? Sort of like the Feast of Tabernacles. We go out there, right, for 8 days, and we set up our tents, right?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Right, Yagai? Boom. I was by my brother Yagai this past time. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful time in the spirit. Mobile tent, mobile tabernacle, moving. The difference between what Solomon is building up is that this is the real temple right now. You see what I'm saying? So that's the difference. Give me 1 Kings 5, 1 through 18. Let's get it.
Let's get this. 1 Kings chapter 5, verse 1. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Hiram was ever a lover of David.
Stop right there. Does anybody know who Hiram is? Anybody familiar with Hiram? Is Hiram an Israelite? Is he a Gentile? Anybody know? All right. Hiram he's a heathen. He's a Gentile. But the Most High Solomon was so wise, even his enemies gave him love and showed him love out of fear and reverence. You see what I'm saying? That's what kind of heavy spirit the Most High had on that brother. And I'm going to give you a quick precept. I'm going to wait till we get down. You got something, Mike?
I was going to find that precept that you were just talking about, but I'm looking.
Which one?
That the Most High would make your enemies, you know.
Let's get it right now. Psalms 110 and 1. Okay?
Psalms 110 and 1.
And I'm going to give you a little, while he's finding that precept, I'm going to give you a little bit more about Hiram. Who is Hiram? Hiram is a Phoenician king of Tyre, who was an ally of King David and his son Solomon. So this guy, Hiram, he's like, I already know your dad. I work for your dad. You know what I'm saying? Your dad treated me good. Same thing here. If Israelites in Babylon, America, you might own a business, you might have a good Edomite or a good Hamite or African or somebody of the other nation that, you know what? He a good worker. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind having him as a slave. You know what I'm saying? So it's no different from that. When we go to work and work hard and make our living for, the slave masters, they say the same thing about us. You know what? He a good Negro. He a good Mexican. He a good beaner. He's a good ape. I like the way he worked. You see what I'm saying? Same thing here, but the roles are reversed. Okay?
Psalms 110 and verse 1.
Okay.
And the Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand, and I will make thine enemies thy footstool.
Read it again so they can get it in their spirit.
The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand, until I make thine enemies thy footstool.
And that's what the Most High did for David, and he did it for Solomon. He said, I'm going to make your enemies your footstool. They're going to be your helper. They're going to assist you. So that's what we're seeing right here. Go back to 1 Kings 5:1. That's exactly what we're seeing right here. That's what Hiram's role is, to be that helper, okay? Even though he's of another nation, you know what? The scriptures tell us don't trust our enemies, but guess what? He said, I'm going to trust you just a little bit because you treated my pops right, but I still got my eye on you. You know what I'm saying? That's how Solomon is thinking toward Hiram, okay? So we need to know that Hiram is a Phoenician king. Tyre and Zidon represent the African nations. So he's a Hamite, all right? That's what we need to know. Verse 2, let's get it.
Verse 2, and Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, Thou knowest how David my father could not build a house unto the name of the Lord his God, for the wars which were about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet.
Remember I mentioned that? He had too much blood on his hands, Solomon's dad. So he said, you can't build a temple, David. I'm going to allow Solomon to do it. Continue.
But now the Lord my God hath given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurrence.
So you know what? I don't got to rally up the troops and worry about going to this border or that border trying to fight different nations. I can build the temple in peace. All right, that's what he's saying. Continue.
Verse 5, and behold, I propose to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord spake unto David my father, saying, Thy son, whom I will set upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build a house unto my name.
Right, that's Solomon. Continue.
Okay. Now therefore command thou that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servants shall be with thy servants. Unto thee will I give hire for thy servants according to all thou shalt appoint. For thou knowest that there is not among us any that can skill to hew timber like unto the Sidonians.
So look, Solomon said, you know what? You my ally, Hiram. Y'all got a lot of skilled men that know how to build, so I'm about to make a pact with you. I'm going to pay you and your people to help me build the temple of the Heavenly Father. All right? So he's using his wisdom, and he's using the skills of the other nations to do the work for the Heavenly Father. All right? That's a wise thing, right, bro? Go ahead and continue.
7. And it came to pass, when Hiram heard the words of Solomon, that he rejoiced greatly.
How did Hiram feel?
He rejoiced greatly.
Go ahead.
And said, Blessed be the Lord this day, which hath given unto David a wise son over this great people.
Right, because he getting paid. So he said, blessed be the God of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Bless your God. I was able to work for David. Now I can work for you. And we eating. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
And Hiram sent unto Solomon, saying, I consider the things which thou sentest to me for, and I will do all thy desire concerning timber of cedar and concerning timber of fir. My servants shall bring them down from Lebanon unto the sea, and I will convey them by sea in floats unto the place that thou shalt appoint me, and will cause them to be discharged there, and thou shalt receive them. And thou shalt accomplish my desire in giving food for my household.
So Hiram said, I'm ready to work. We're going to get it done. We're going to get these ships, boom. We're going to get it on shore, and we're going to make it happen. Continue.
So Hiram gave Solomon cedar trees and fir trees, according to all his desire. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food, and to his household, and 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Solomon to Hiram year by year.
He gave him wheat, he gave him oil in an abundance, okay? All right, feeding them year by year for as long, because this took a process of time. This wasn't 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. I believe it was about 7 years, if I'm correct, to build the temple. So he was eating, all right, but continue. 12.
Verse 12. And the Lord gave Solomon wisdom as he promised him, and there was peace between Hiram and Solomon, that they two made a league together.
So we're going to stop right there. We're not going to go to 18 for time's sake. We're going to keep it moving. You guys get the gist of what I'm saying, right? So let's go to the actual building of the temple in the next chapter. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1. And we're going to skip around, okay? So that was a lot of preparation before the temple was even built, right? That was just the preparations, getting everything in order, right? Yeah. Getting the tools, getting the wood, getting the trees, getting everything ready to go, all right? Now it's time to build the temple. 1 Kings chapter 6.
Can I add one thing to that too?
Of course.
It's amazing too, Solomon's wisdom, because the Most High said that when we're keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments, that He would pretty much bless within our kingdom, our land, and our crops. So that exchange rate that Solomon was feeding Hiram of the Philistines, and I'm sure all the other nations, food in exchange for their resources and labor, just shows how much in tune that he was with the law, because the Most High said himself in Deuteronomy that He's literally going to increase the surplus of our own food. So we would have, what was it, like enough for the store and everything, and, for the year. So it's like when we got extra, we could do business with that, which is exactly what He did. So that's amazing. But yes, sir.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Verse 6 and, chapter 6 and verse 1?
Chapter 6, verse 1.
Con. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord.
Right, time to build the temple. Verse 2.
Verse 2. And the house which King Solomon built for the Lord, the length thereof was 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof was 20 cubits. And the height thereof was 30 cubits.
Stop right there. A cubit is 18 inches, which is 1.5 feet. This will give you guys a general idea, okay? I want to, hold on, Amon.
I got you. This is about 12 inches right here.
Yeah.
This is like 12.
But another half of that will be 18. Read this. Up to here. From here to here.
Got you.
Don't worry about saying A and B and all that.
Yeah, I'll just read it.
Feel me?
Got you.
Read to right here. Right here to right here.
All right, so construction of a great temple and other buildings and cities. Planned and arranged by David and built by Solomon, a place for worship of the God of Israel.
Put some power on it.
Right. 90 feet by 30 feet, 3 stories high, estimated 23 tons of gold. A tremendous labor force was involved. A workforce of 30,000 was employed in cutting timber from the cedars of Lebanon. Some 80,000 cutters of stone in the quarries of Jerusalem, 70,000 ordinary workmen, many superintendents, and completed in 7 years.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
All the way through to the end.
Okay, completed in 7 years, and this reference from 1 Kings 6 and 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build this house of the Lord.
Right. So right there, accurate with the scriptures, right? So we got another witness outside the scriptures, but let's drop down to verse 7. Let's keep it moving.
Verse 7. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone made ready before it was brought thither, so that there was neither hammer, nor axe, nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building.
So you know how you go by a regular construction site nowadays and you hear a gang of noise and banging and, you know what I'm saying, things of that nature? It wasn't like that. They had hews of stone that they just had to slide together and just build. You know what I'm saying? It was quiet. All right? Verse 8.
Verse 8. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and it went up with winding stairs into the middle chamber, and out of the middle into the third.
So this was 3 levels, and it had winding stairs. What Israelite don't like that? You go to a big house in North Hollywood or, Bel Air, you got winding stairs. Jake's is looking like, man, amazed. But, this is what our ancestors was doing. This is where Esau get this from, King Solomon, right? But go ahead, verse 9.
Verse 9. So he built the house and furnished it and covered the house with beams and boards of cedar.
Drop down to verse 11 through 15.
Verse 11. And the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, concerning this house which thou art in building, if thou wilt walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I will perform my word with thee, which I spake unto David thy father.
So when it comes to this house, Solomon, I'm the Most High. Make sure you're doing what I want you to do, okay? And everything is going to prosper. Continue.
And I will dwell among the children of Israel and will not forsake my people Israel. So Solomon built the house and finished it.
Go ahead, 15.
And he built the walls of the house within the boards of cedar, both the floor of the house and the walls of the ceiling. And he covered them in the inside with wood, and covered the floor of the house with planks of fir.
Right. Fir is like a cypress tree. So all these different natural elements, you see, he didn't come in with no drywall and no, what's inside the drywall nowadays? The little padding and all this little stuff, huh? Right, insulation. No, they coming with trees, man. The best of the best, you know? So that's how we was doing it. But drop down to verse 21 and 22.
Verse 21. So Solomon overlaid the house within with pure gold.
Read that again.
So Solomon overlaid the house within with pure gold.
Pure gold. That's what we dealing with. Continue.
And he made a partition by the chains of gold before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold.
So he doubled it up. Continue.
And the whole house he overlaid with gold, until he had finished all the house. Also, the whole altar that was by the oracle he overlaid with gold.
Ain't that something right there, right? Israelites, we love gold. Gold in our ears, all right? Gold in our mouth, you know. That's Israel. We love gold, you know. If we could all afford it, wouldn't you have gold all around the house, brother? I'll have gold in my vehicle. I'll have it everywhere. That's just in our nature, okay? Verse 29, drop down.
Verse 29. And he carved all the walls of the house round about with carved figures of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers within and without.
Look, he had carved figures of cherubims. You see what I'm saying? You see this lion right here? This is a carved figure, right? Even look, on a low level right now in our wickedness, this is a carved figure of a lion, right? This is not idolatry or anything, because we got lions, you know, Lion of Judah. We got lions and things like that in the scripture. But read that verse again.
29. And he carved all the walls of the house round about with carved figures of cherubims.
Which are angels, okay? He had gold angels all around the house. Go ahead.
And palm trees.
Palm trees.
And open flowers.
Flowers.
Within and without.
In and out the house. Right? Back to us being in tune with nature. Israelites love life. We love the fact that we love, even though we're living, we like to see how the Most High does with other living things. We like to watch nature. We like to plant stuff. We like flowers. We like this. We like that. You know what I'm saying? All right, give me verse 30.
Verse 30. And the floor of the house he overlaid with gold, within and without.
So it was gold inside and outside of the house, right? Even outside of the house, you guys. Not just in the house. Drop down to 37 and 38.
Verse 37. In the 4th year was the foundation of the house of the Lord laid, in the month of Ziph. And in the 11th year, in the month Bul, which is the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it. So he was 7 years in building it.
Right, so it took 7 years in building. So that's the temple being built right there. And we skimmed through, all right? A lot of the chapters that we're skimming through, make sure you go back and read everything, okay? So either take the King's approach or the Chronicles approach. 1 Kings chapter 1 all the way to 11, or you can take 2 Chronicles chapter 1 all the way to 9, all right? Or you can read both, because it's two different perspectives. But make sure you go back and read all the chapters so you can get anything that I'm missing. Let's get it. Verse Salakia. Let's go to the next chapter.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7. Now Solomon is going to build his palace because he's done with the work of the Heavenly Father. The temple is built. Now he's going to build his little palace. All right, let's go. 7 and 1.
Chapter 7 and verse 1. But Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all in his house. He built also the house of the forest of Lebanon. The length thereof was 100 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits, upon 4 rows of cedar pillars with cedar beams upon the pillars.
Right, so there's the cedar pillars again. He was using a lot of cedar trees. Probably every tree that you could imagine that's worth something, okay?
Something sturdy.
Stop at verse 2, go to verse 7. What you say, Huck?
I said something sturdy.
Something
I
sturdy.
don't know too much about it, but yeah. Verse 7. Then he made a porch for the throne where he might judge.
Where he might do what?
Where he might judge.
Right.
Even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from one side of the floor to the other.
So guess what? You know how we got a man cave or a brother might build an office in his home, right? He said, you know what? I gotta build a section of my house and make it a porch or a throne where he might judge. Even the porch of judgment. He called it the porch of Salakia, the porch of judgment. That let you know how much he was about the Most High business. You know what I'm saying? He didn't exclude the Most High even when he was building his own living quarters attached to the temple, not far from the temple. You see what I'm saying? He said, you know what? I still got to do this work for the Most High. I can't forget the Most High. So I'm going to build this man cave, this spiritual man cave, this porch of judgment. But continue.
And his house where he dwelt had another court within the porch, which was of the like work. Solomon made also an house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken to wife, like unto this porch.
Right. Continue.
All these were of costly stones, according to the measure of hewed stones, sawed with saws, within and without, even from the foundation unto the coping. So on the outside toward the great court.
Right. So the same way he built his porch is the same thing he did with everything else. It was the same blueprint, same foundation. Go ahead and drop down to verse 11. No, wait.
Hiram's in 13.
No, go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, verse 11. And above were costly stones after the measures of hewed stone and cedars. And the great court round about was with 3 rows of hewed stones and a row of cedar beams, both for the inner court of the house of the Lord and for the porch of the house. And King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre.
Salakia, where are you at?
7 and 13.
Okay, all I needed was 12.
Okay.
That's all I needed. We are going to read 13, but I want to give them an understanding of this is about the temple furnishings. And I'm going to just skim through this real quick. You can read this on your own, okay? These are a few things that went inside of the temple because the temple is now built, right? Now we just went to Solomon's living quarters, but now we're going back to the furnishings inside the temple, all right? Give me 1 Kings 7, 13 and 14. 13 and 14.
1 Kings 7, verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
And King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre, and he was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding and cunning to work all works in brass. And he came to King Solomon and wrought all his work.
So there's that man again. There go Hiram again. He said, you know what? I need Hiram. Come back, man. Because you specialize in all these other areas, and that's wisdom, right? To use the other nations for our benefit, okay? Drop down to verse, real quick. Give me verse 40.
Verse 40. And Hiram made the lavers and the shovels and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work that he had made King Solomon for the house of the Lord.
So a laver is just a dish. We know what a shovel is. A basin is a bowl. Read that again, verse 40.
And Hiram made the lavers and the shovels and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work he had made King Solomon for the house of the Lord.
Right, so he made everything. You know, not only was he responsible for building the structure of the temple, but even the things that go in, the cups, the bowls, the silverware, he did it all, him and his people, right? That's how skilled Hiram was. All right, drop down to 45.
Verse 45. And the pots and the shovels and the basins and all these vessels which Hiram made to King Solomon for the house of the Lord were of bright brass.
47 through 51.
Verse 47. And Solomon left all the vessels unweighed, because they were exceeding many. Neither was the weight of the brass found out.
So these were some heavy tools. Why? Because he using brass, right? Go ahead.
And Solomon made all the vessels that pertain unto the house of the Lord, the altar of gold, and the table of gold whereupon the showbread was. And the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left side, before the oracle, with the flowers and the lamps and the tongs of gold.
So when you're dealing with the candlesticks, we're dealing with this right here. You're dealing with the menorah, right? So he had these. This is biblical. This is scriptural. The 7-branch menorah, not the 9-branch menorah. Go ahead and continue.
Verse 50. And the bowls and the snuffers and the basins and the spoons and the censers of pure gold and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, to wit, of the temple.
So even the hinges of the doors were gold, all the way down to the smallest increment. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it was, we dealing with gold, brass, the highest level of the highest. Go ahead and continue.
51. So was in it all the work that King Solomon made for the house of the Lord. And Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold and the vessels did he put among the treasures of the house of the Lord.
Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's go 1 Kings chapter 8 and 1. Okay, now we're dealing with the ark. We're bringing the ark in the temple, all right? The ark of the covenant. You guys familiar with that, right? All right, the ark of the covenant. We're just going to touch on that a little bit. But go ahead and read 1 Kings 8 and 1.
1 Kings 8 and 1. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, unto King Solomon in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion.
So he assembled everybody, all the priests, the elders, the whole Israel, okay? Men, women, and children, single, married, it didn't matter. Okay, give me verse 3 through 5.
Verse 3. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark. And they brought up the ark of the Lord, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, even those did the priests and the Levites bring up.
Continue.
And King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told nor numbered for multitude.
Right, so it was so many sacrifices going at this time, they were uncountable, okay? Because Solomon made sure he wanted to get the Most High his just due. You know, I'm thankful for you allowing me to build the temple. I'm thankful for you allowing me to lead your people. You see what I'm saying? So he was offering and offering, the same thing that we need to do. But right now, we offer spiritual sacrifices, right? The Most High wants obedience rather than sacrifice, right?
Okay.
But let's get, let me see. 9 through 11. 9 through 11. Drop down. Verse 9 through 11.
Okay. Verse 9. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone, which Moses had put there in Horeb, when the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt.
Right. So there was nothing in the ark except the 2 tables of stone, right? Remember, the ark was built in the book of Exodus. So I got a couple questions just that I'm going to pose. You guys don't have to answer it, but what is the Ark of the Covenant? I want this brother to read something real quick, just to give some edification for those who don't know. Go ahead and read this. Read from right there. Why is this thing in my way? worry about that. It's to right here. So you're gonna have to like bypass a lot.
All right, so I'm reading to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Got you.
Just skip past the articles. Nice and loud and strong.
Got you. So this is from livescience.com. The Ark of the Covenant is a chest that held tablets engraved with the 10 Commandments. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Ark was constructed by the Israelites while they were camping out in the Sinai desert after they fled Egypt. The Hebrew Bible doesn't specify when they fled Egypt, but there is a debate among scholars as to whether there ever was an exodus from Egypt. The ark vanished when the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem in 587 BC. The ark has a number of seemingly magical powers according to the Hebrew Bible. In one story, the Jordan River stopped flowing and remained still while a group of priests carrying the ark crossed the river. Other stories describe how the Israelites took the ark with them into battle, where the powers of the ark helped the Israelites defeat their enemies. You can see that in that's a link in the article, Biblical Battles. Continuing. When the ark was captured by the Philistines, outbreaks of tumors and diseases afflicted them, forcing the Philistines to return the ark to the Israelites. Some stories describe how death would come to anyone who touched the ark or looked inside of it, that's actual fact too. One of our own people died from touching the ark because that wasn't his actual job.
Bring it out.
Scripture?
Oh no, just finish reading.
Con. There are two biblical stories describing the construction of the ark. The first and the most famous version is found in the book of Exodus and describes how a large amount of gold was used to build the ark. The second version is found in the book of Deuteronomy, briefly describes the construction of an ark just made of wood. Understanding the stories surrounding the ark is challenging because of the different accounts. Some scholars believe that multiple arks may have been constructed and used in the same time or at different times. We only have one. The story of the construction of the ark told in the book of Exodus describes in great detail how God ordered Moses to tell the Israelites to build an ark out of wood and gold, with God supposedly giving very precise instructions. They were very precise. Have them make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits, which is 3 3/4 feet, or 1.1 meters long.
Mm-hmm.
A cubit and a half, which is 2 1/4 feet, or 0.7 meters wide, and a cubit and a half, which is 2 1/4 feet high. Overlay with pure gold, both inside and out, and make a gold molding around it. And then you can find that in Exodus 25, verse 10.
Con, appreciate you. So the only correction we need to make, because Esau wrote this article, is the fact that there's not more than one Ark of the Covenant. There's only one, okay? So they're just going off to suspecting, but we know the scriptures say that there's one, okay? So that's some good edification. Write this down. The making of the Ark of the Covenant, you can find that in the book of Exodus 25, 10 through 22, okay? That's where you can find our people actually making it. The book of Exodus, chapter 25, verses 10 through 22. We're just going to read, you know what, we're not going to even read that. Write that down, okay? The next thing, the Most High dwells on a mercy seat in the Ark of the Covenant, okay? Get 2 Samuel 6 and 2. 2 Samuel 6 and 2 real quick. So this is all dealing with the Ark of the Covenant real quick, and then we're going to get back to it, all right?
2 Samuel 6 and 2. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baale of Judah to bring up from thence the ark of God, whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, that dwelleth between the cherubims.
That dwelleth between the cherubims. So the Most High dwells in the mercy seat, right? Okay, not literally, but his spirit, okay? So we know that he always brought his presence, even when we was in the wilderness. His presence came upon the tabernacle when we were doing things the right way, right? He would always make himself known, either through a cloud of fire, a pillar, or something of that sort. All right, so now let's get another precept. What is in the Ark of the Covenant? Let's go to Hebrews 9, chapter 9, verses 3 through 5. The question is, what is in the Ark of the Covenant? Hebrews 9, 3 through 5.
Hebrews chapter 9, verse 3 through 5. And after the second veil, the tabernacle was called the holiest of all.
Right. So this Salakia, the veil would be the actual temple. Okay. So read that again.
And after the second veil, the tabernacle which is called the holiest of all. And after the second veil, the tabernacle which is called the holiest of all, which had the golden censer and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant.
Verse 5.
And over it the cherubims of glory shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly.
Right. So why is he saying let me touch on verse 4 again. So what's in the Ark of the Covenant? We got the covenant, the commandments, right? What else does the scripture say?
Golden censers.
The golden censer. Okay, we got Aaron's rod. And then we have the golden pot that had manna. Okay? So those are the details of what's inside. Okay? Of the Ark of the Covenant. Now read verse 5, very slow.
And over it the cherubims of glory shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly.
Why is the author of Hebrews saying of which we cannot speak particularly about? Why? Because we don't know what a mercy seat is now. You see what I'm saying? We don't have possession of it, because if we did have possession, we wouldn't be at the bottom and suffering the curses and everything that's going on with our people now. You see what I'm saying? And if any other nation had it, they would have so many plagues coming up on them, it would be crazy. They would be trying to get rid of it. You see what I'm saying? So let's see what the scriptures say. So now my question is, where is the Ark of the Covenant now? That's the question that I'm posing. And the answer is in 2 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1 through 7. And that's in your Apocrypha. 2 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1 through 7.
2 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1.
Nice and powerful.
It is also found in the records that Jeremy the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take of the fire as it hath been signified, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, and that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. And with other such speeches exhorted he them that the law should not depart from their hearts. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him, as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of God.
So when you're dealing with Jeremy, you're dealing with Jeremiah the prophet. Okay, continue.
And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door.
And so stopped the door, meaning he sealed it. Okay? Whether he put a big old rock or stone, we don't know how, but he stopped the door. Okay? He stopped people from being able to enter the cave where the Ark of the Covenant was stashed. Right? Continue.
And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it.
Read it again.
And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it.
Like, dang, I thought he put it right here. I thought I saw him put it. They can't find it. Verse 7.
Which when Jeremy perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that God gather his people again together and receive them unto mercy.
You see what I'm saying? So the scripture telling us right here, we're not going to find out about that until the Most High gather his people again into that time of mercy. That means when Christ come back, Yahweh Shai come back, right? Because that's when we're going to be ready to actually deal with the Ark of the Covenant. Because if a lot of our people found the Ark of the Covenant right now, you probably get put to death, man. Because our people not in the right mind state. We not fully repentant. We still halfway in the world. You know what I'm saying? We got brothers and sisters still hating their brother. It's all kind of error that we're in that we still need to clean up with the Most High. And we're still practicing our repentance, man. All right? So go ahead and write this down. So that, you know, now we're done with the aspect of the Ark of the Covenant. We know how it was made. Okay? We know what's inside the Ark of the Covenant, and we know where the Ark of the Covenant is at, right? Now, go ahead and write this down. Solomon blesses the Most High. The bullet point is Solomon blesses the Most High, and that's 1 Kings 8, 12 through 21. We're not going to read that, but go ahead and write that down for your notes. Also, write down Solomon's prayer of dedication, meaning he's praying and pouring out his heart for the Most High, allowing him to build the temple. Okay? That's in 1 Kings 8, 22 through 53. So write that down. Also write down Solomon's benediction to that same prayer, which is 1 Kings 8, verses 54 through 61. Also write down Solomon's sacrifices, because he has more sacrifices that he gave the Most High, right? Outside of the 1,000 that he already gave him, which is in 1 Kings chapter 8, verses 62 through 66. Okay, so we're not reading any of chapter 8. So I divided it into sections so you can know what each section is about. Okay? And we're also going to bypass 1 Kings chapter 9, 1 through 9, and that's the Most High appearing to Solomon. All right? So write that down. The Most High appears to Solomon in the book of 1 Kings chapter 9, verses 1 through 9. And now I want you to go to 1 Kings chapter 9, 10 through 28. And that's what we're going to read right now. 1 Kings chapter 9, 10 through 28. And that's dealing with some of the acts of Solomon, his other accomplishments, okay?
1 Kings chapter 9, verse 10. And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, when Solomon had built the two houses, the house of the Lord and the king's house, Now Hiram, the king of Tyre, had furnished Solomon with cedar trees and fir trees, and with gold, according to all his desires. That then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee.
Right, so guess what? We remember how long, how long did the temple take for Solomon and his people and Hiram and his people to build? 7 years. Excellent answer. How long did it take for Solomon to build his little situation? 13. All praises. 7 plus 13 is 20. So read verse 1 again. Read verse 1 one more time. Salakia, verse 10. Read verse 10 one more time.
Gotcha.
1 Kings 9 and 10.
And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, when Solomon had built the two houses, the house of the Lord and the king's house.
Right, the house of the Most High, which is the temple, and his own house, which is the king's house. Continue.
I'm going to skip the parentheses. That then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee.
He said, look, man, you helped me do a lot. You know what I'm saying? You helped me build the temple of the Most High. You helped me build my quarters too. What did he give him?
20 cities in the land of Galilee.
He gave him 20 cities. This is how much territory our ancestor King Solomon had. So wouldn't that be nice if we were able to do that? The only way we're going to be able to do it is in the kingdom. When we get assigned sections and different properties and lands that the Most High give us to rule over these other nations. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way we're going to come close to anything like King Solomon is doing right now, being able to give away plots of land and stuff like that. Because it's not going to happen here. It's not going to happen in Babylon. That's the truth. You know what I'm saying? We still waiting on 40 acres and a mule, and we ain't got that yet. Okay? But go ahead.
Verse 12. And Hiram came out from Tyre to see the cities which Solomon had given him, and they pleased him not.
Right.
And he said, What cities are these which thou hast given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kabul unto this day. And Hiram sent to the king 60 talents of gold.
Right. So Hiram, it wasn't that he wasn't excited about receiving that property, but he said, I'm going to double it back. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm not impressed. I'm going to give you something. I got something for you. You know how when you give somebody something and you think you did something good, and then he turn around and double back, and now they got a gift for you. They top you. So, you know, let me give you a quick example. I might get his brother a shirt with fringes on it. He might turn around the next month and give me a whole garment. You see what I'm saying? So that's how it was. That's what Hiram was doing to our brother, King Solomon. Okay, and when you're dealing with 60 talents of gold, 60 would be, a score is 20, right, Ak?
I couldn't tell you for sure.
Khan, all praises, the water, Ak. So 60 would be 120 talents of gold. Now let me give you an idea of how much gold that is, because it's a lot. So by default, if you work for somebody that's rich long enough, eventually you're gonna have a little paper too. So that's what Hiram did. But let's get that. Hold on. The water, Yashima. So listen to this. I read this right here to right here. From right here to right here. I'm gonna have you stop because I want to do a couple illustrations though.
All right, gotcha.
But I'll let you know when to stop. Just read it slow.
Got you. Some authorities say that the talent typically weighed about 33 kilograms, which is approximately 72 pounds.
So keep that in mind. One biblical talent equal 33 kg or kilograms or 72 pounds. That's one, right?
Yeah.
So we dealing with Hiram like, look, I appreciate you, you know what I'm saying? But here you go, King. And in wisdom, what is he doing? He's securing his spot. You know what? When this brother want to build something, come get me again. I got you for another 7 years. I got you for another 13 years. He's smart. Hiram ain't no dummy. I'm gonna invest right back in you. I got a gift for you, King, but go ahead.
Varying from 20 to 40 kilograms.
Okay, continue.
In June 2018, the international price of gold was about, in U.S. dollars, $41, which is...
No.
Oh, my bad. I skipped over.
Come on.
In U.S. dollars, 41,155 and 69 cents per kilogram.
Okay, so you fast forward what King Solomon was doing and bring it to nowadays. So in June 2018, the United States, the international price of gold was $41,155.69 per 1 gram in the United States. All right, y'all got that? Go ahead.
1 gram costs about $38 per kilogram.
Right. Go ahead.
At this price, a talent, which is 33 kilograms, would be worth about, well, that's a big number. I believe that's around
1,400,000
and 116 and
dollars.
57 cents.
Okay, so look. So go back to the scripture for me.
Verse 14 in chapter 9.
Read it slow.
And Hiram sent to the king 60 talents of gold.
So 120 talents, right? Listen to this. So you looking at $1,400,116.57 times 120. So we dealing with paper right now, real long money. You see what I'm saying? And he was an employee of King Solomon, right? And not only that, King Solomon had other people coming to give him other stuff, and we're gonna see that in chapter 10. But that's just one dude, one heathen that was working for him. So if he amassed all of that, imagine how wealthy King. You dealing with a billionaire. He was a billionaire. He was a billionaire at that time, not just now. You see what I'm saying? So that's our ancestor, King Solomon. So that's what we trying to get back to. You see what I'm saying? Spiritual riches and real riches. That's how we going to be balling in the kingdom. Literally. So that's something to think about. Ponder that, Israel. So let's get back to it. So where were we at?
We finished verse 14,
Okay, so we were on 9
chapter 9, yeah.
and 14, because I almost lost one. Okay, continue.
Verse 15.
Verse 15.
And this is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised to build the house of the Lord and his own house, and Millo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer.
So Milo, the wall of Jerusalem, Hazor, Megiddo, and Gezer were all other places that he built up. Okay, so he didn't only build the temple and his own quarters, he built up other lands too, King Solomon. Okay, what is a levy? A levy is to impose a tax or fee by money or forced labor. Okay, so that's what he was doing, with Hiram and his people, right? So he didn't force them, but he paid them, right? But go ahead, verse 16.
16. For Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had gone up and taken Gezer and burnt it with fire, and slain the Canaanites that dwelt in the city, and given it for a present unto his daughter, Solomon's wife.
Continue.
And Solomon built Gezer and Beth Horon, the nether, and Baalath and Tadmor in the wilderness in the land, and all the cities of store that Solomon had, and cities for his chariots, and cities for his horsemen, and that which Solomon desired to build in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion.
So he had a city for his store, okay? You know how we got a little store back here for our people? You know, we got chips on the Sabbath and a little wine, and you know how you open the refrigerator and get a little sandwich or whatever? His store, he had a whole city for his store, okay? Store is where you put your victuals or your groceries. So he probably had 1 million cans of lamb. You know, I'm just speculating right now. You know what I'm saying? 1 billion cans of tuna, lamb, and all kind of. But it took a whole city, not just one building. Okay. Then he had a city for his chariots, which are his vehicles, in this context, and he had a city for his horses. A city, like this. I mean, he way out right now. All praises to the Heavenly Father. But go ahead real quick.
Verse 20. And all the people that were left of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, which were not of the children of Israel, their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel also were not able to utterly destroy, upon those did Solomon levy a tribute of bondservants unto this day.
So he said, you know what? I'm about to tax you other nations. All the one, because in Deuteronomy chapter 7, we were supposed to destroy all the nations, remember? Right? When you go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, 1 through 4, the Most High gave us a list of nations to destroy. A lot of them was the Canaanites and the African nations, which are the Hamites, right? Mm-hmm. So he said, all of those children of those people that y'all didn't destroy, he said, I'm about to tax them. The same way America taxed us. You know what I'm saying? Overwhelming interest rates. You know what I'm saying? Sky-high loan taxes, the whole nine. Because in a law, it tells us we shouldn't do that to our brother. What is that? Paraphrase that for me. What's that law?
Interest.
You
can't charge interest.
It's called usury. So we're not supposed to tax in today's terms, if I loan you $200, I ain't supposed to be like, hey, let me get that 3 or that 4 though. You know what I'm saying? If I loan you $200, you give me $200 back. That's how we supposed to deal amongst our own people. But you could tax the other nations. So the other nations, they know the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? They say, we're going to tax the Israelites, but when you go to Orange County, Manhattan Beach and all that, guess what? Their taxes are lower than yours. And in some instances, when you got real money, they don't even tax their own people when they get real high up on you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's something else we got to keep in mind. Verse 22, though. Go ahead.
Verse 22. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen, but they were men of war, mm-hmm. and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of his chariots, and his horsemen.
But his own people, he didn't make no slaves out of them, okay? They were men of war, servants, princes, captains, rulers of his chariots and horsemen. All right? Continue.
Verse 23. These were the chief of the officers that were over Solomon's work, 550, which bear rule over the people that wrought in the work.
So even though he was in charge of all the people that he had working and Hiram and his people, he still had 550 people that were overseeing them. So he wasn't missing nothing. All right? He had 550 pairs of eyes. Right? But go ahead.
Verse 24. But Pharaoh's daughter came up out of the city of David unto her house, which Solomon had built for her. Then did he build Millo. And 3 times in a year did Solomon offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he built unto the Lord. And he burnt incense upon the altar that was before the Lord. So he finished the house.
Right. So we're going to read 26 through 28, but the context changes a little bit. So now we're understanding that King Solomon had a navy of ships. He had a fleet of ships.
Man.
So we're going to touch on that in these next three verses. All right, but go ahead.
Verse 26. And King Solomon made a navy of ships.
He made what?
A navy of ships.
Right.
In Ezion-Geber, which is beside Elath, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom.
So he had a navy of ships. He was papered out. Big money. Okay? It costs a lot to run a ship. You got to have a captain. You got to have a crew. You got to have gas. You got to have food. You know what I'm saying? And it can't be no cheap ship. Something that's going to sink as soon as you go out to the water. It can't be like that. So just like his living quarters, the temple, and his house was built with the finest of the finest, I'm sure the ships were done the same way. Go ahead. You got something you want to add?
I was going to mention geographically where it is.
Go ahead.
In the scriptures in my Bible, geography, it says it's by the Gulf of Aqaba, but I believe in today's terms, that would be like the Persian Gulf. And the Persian Gulf is important because that's where the 10 tribes exited the Middle East in order to circumnavigate the globe to get over to the Americas. So it's just information, important information. So we have verse 27. And Hiram sent the navy, his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold, 420 talents, brought it to King Solomon.
See? So look, verse 27, it said, and Hiram sent in the navy, his servants. So it said he had a navy of ships, right? But then he says the navy is his servants. So just imagine the United States Navy being your servants. Everybody who enlists in the Navy is your servants. Think about that. So that's what we're dealing with right here. Shipmen that had knowledge of the sea with the servants of Solomon. So you're dealing with seafarers. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what a seafarer is, look that up. Seafarer. You're dealing with people who know how to basically live on the water. You know what I'm saying? Know how to survive out there for a long-term period. You know what I'm saying? A year and a half, 2 years. All right? And verse 28. Read that one more time for me.
Verse 28. And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon.
So there's another 420 talents right there. All right? So you're dealing with $1.5 million times 420. So you add that to the bank account. All right, but moving on. We're dealing with Queen Sheba now. We got to speed up a little bit, but
It's all good.
just a little bit, but don't rush. 1 Kings 10:1. Queen of Sheba. Anybody know about her? Was she an Israelite? Can anybody answer that? Nah, you're right. She wasn't an Israelite. Okay, she was read verse 1, and then we're going to get a little bit of information on her.
1 Kings 10:1.
Uh-huh.
And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions.
She came to do what?
She came to prove him with hard questions.
I've been hearing about this man so long. You know what? I got to go see this dude. So she traveled about Let me see. Let me see if I got a little information right here. I think it's in detail. I believe she traveled over 1,000 miles to see our ancestor, King Solomon.
Yeah, I believe she was from Ethiopia.
Yeah, I can't find it. But yeah. So this is what I'm going to do. Sheba, in the Strong's Concordance, you're dealing with H7614. Okay? And it says Sabians of the Ethiopian district. So she was an Ethiopian, which is an African, a modern-day African, a Hamite, right? But let me go a little bit deeper. Let's get one precept, then we're going to jump right back to it. Isaiah 45 and 14. Just to substantiate that in the scriptures. Isaiah 45 and 14.
Isaiah 45 and 14.
Nice and loud.
Thus saith the Lord, the labor of Egypt and merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee in chains, and they shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God.
Right. So we done, all I needed is 45 and 14. So, you know, ultimately that's going to be a judgment right there in context on Egypt, on the Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? Because the Most High, as a matter of fact, give me Zephaniah 2 and 12. Just to show you how the Most High really feel about these people. And then we're going to jump right back to it. Okay? So he was so wise, he was dealing with, what's that brother's name that was doing all the building?
Hiram?
Hiram is of another nation. Now he dealing with Queen Sheba of another nation. That's how wise he was. He knew how to deal with his enemies. And that's another thing that we could take out of the book dealing with, you know, King Solomon. We got to learn how to deal with our enemies here. You don't always got to show them that you hate their guts. You know what I'm saying? You can move in wisdom. Hey, Bob. Hey, Jim. You know, on the job, keep your job. You don't got to run around like an angry Israelite, so you got to move in wisdom. You know what I'm saying?
Got a precept for that, too.
Give me 2 and 12 first.
Okay, Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 12. Ye Ethiopians, also ye shall be slain by my sword.
So ultimately, that's the judgment on the Ethiopians. The Most High is going to slay them with his sword. Okay? So she was a Sabian or an Ethiopian. Same thing. She a Hamite. You got a precept?
Yeah, for what he said previously about learning to live peaceably with our enemies, to the point to where, like, even before Solomon, Abraham, you know, he made covenants with some of the Hamite nations as well, too. One of the guys' name was Abimelech. But this is in the book of Romans in the New Testament. It says, Romans 12 and 18, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. So, I mean,
Beautiful.
all men includes the other nations as well, too.
Beautiful. All praises. Because we know vengeance belongs to the Most High. He's going to, you know, Yahushua, when he come back, he going to be dripped in blood. His garment going to be real, real bloody. So he want the first action. You know what I'm saying? He want to take off first. And then those men who he select, you know what I'm saying? I know your guy is waiting on that time for the spirit to come on him. But you got to make sure you get the kingdom for that, all right? All right, real quick, let's get back to it. So where were we at, Doc?
We finished up Zephaniah 2 and 12.
We were in 1 Kings chapter 10. Let's get verse 2. Let's get it.
1 Kings chapter 10 and 2.
All right, verse 1, quick recap. King Sheba said, I got to see who this guy is. Who are y'all talking about? She traveled over 1,200 miles to see King Solomon, to prove him with hard questions. She had a lot of questions. Go ahead.
1 Kings 10 and 2. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bear spices and very much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart.
So she said, I got to take this time to chop it up with him as much as I can while I'm making this trip. Commune, she spoke with him. She spoke, he listened, and vice versa. Continue.
And Solomon told her all her questions, that there was not anything hid from the king. which he told her not.
So he answered all her questions. There wasn't a question that she had that he couldn't answer. Continue.
And when the Queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his accent by which he went up unto the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her.
She was breathtaking and overwhelmed. She damn near fainted. Like, dang, this dude is everything that I heard of plus more. Look at the order. Look how he leading. Look at his garments. Look at the meat on his table. Look at the gold everywhere. Her mind is blown right now. Not even the men in her nation was to this stature, to this level. Okay? She almost fainted. Continue.
And she said to the king, it was a true report that I heard in mine own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom. Howbeit I believed not the words until I came.
She said, I didn't believe it till I saw it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, hey, to Israelites, don't the scripture say the Jews require a sign?
Yeah.
So for us, seeing is believing, right? We from Missouri. Missouri is called the show me state. So that's what Israelites from. You feel me? Show me. You know what I'm saying? All right, but go ahead.
Verse 7, howbeit I believed not the words until I came, and my eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told me.
She said, I didn't even know the half. Go ahead.
Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom.
Isn't that impressive? To see a leader and everybody up under him is happy. They all satisfied. Ain't nobody complaining like when you on a job.
That's pretty good.
Like, dang, I'm ready to go. He don't treat us right. I need a raise. They wasn't bickering. Everybody was happy. They had paper in their pocket. They was in the scriptures. Everybody was righteous. Judgment was going forth. What more can you ask for? Continue.
Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighted in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever. Therefore made he thee king, to do judgment and justice.
Basically, in a nutshell, she said, dang, bless your God, the God of Israel. Because she knew the God of Israel ain't hers. She knew she was from another nation. You know what I'm saying? But she said, bless your God. Man, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
And she gave the king 120 talents of gold.
She did what?
She gave the king 120 talents of gold.
So she started issuing that gold, started giving that money. You see what I'm saying? So he had people giving him money. He amassed his own wealth, and then here come Hiram, here come Queen Sheba. I mean, he was collecting. Even when he had his navy of ships, he was going to Ophir, doubling back. You know what I'm saying? It was amazing, but go ahead.
And of spices very great store, and precious stones. There came no more such an abundance of spices as these which Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. And the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir, brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones. I want to highlight that real quick. And the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of the Lord, and for the king's house harps also and psalteries for singers. There came no such almug tree, nor were seen unto this day.
So an almug tree must be a unique kind of tree. I've never heard of it. I might have to try to do some research about it when I get to the house. I don't even know if they exist. They might be extinct. I don't know. But the way they talking about this almug tree, it was definitely something unique that everybody couldn't get a hold of. Continue.
And King Solomon gave unto the Queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, beside that which Solomon gave her of this royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants.
Okay.
Now the weight of the gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold.
So you're dealing with 666 talents of gold in 1 year, right? So you're dealing with 666 times 1.5 million. Okay? So you're dealing with like 700 million bucks right there. to put it in a nutshell, right? Continue.
15. Besides that, he had of the merchantmen and of the traffic of the spice merchants and of all the kings of Arabia and of the governors of the country. And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target.
So a target was like a, what is that when you, a shield. A target is like a shield, okay? And it said, read that again.
And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target.
Right. So just imagine that. Imagine how heavy the shield was for his men to protect themselves. All right, but it was made of all gold. Continue.
Crazy. And he made 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 pounds of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the best gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were stays on either side on the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the stairs.
And
stays.
2 lions stood beside the stays. Okay, we only gonna read 2 more verses. I was gonna go all the way down, but you guys get the point. So make sure you finish this on your own. 1 Kings chapter 10, all the way to the bottom. Okay, don't cheat yourself. Read 2 more verses out. Stop at 21.
Got you. And 12 lions stood there on the one side and the other upon the 6 steps, and there's not the like made in any kingdom.
Right. So 12 lions stood on the one side and 6 up on the steps. So he not only had men protecting him, but he had the king of the beasts, which is the lion. Right? Go ahead.
And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver, and it was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon.
Right. So finish the rest of 10 on your own so you can make sure you understand the wealth of our brother. I'm sure you get it by now. Now let's go to his downfall. 1 Kings chapter 11. We almost done. Hang in there, Israel. This is a good edifying lesson on our brother King Solomon, all right?
Khan.
1 Kings
All
11
praises.
and 1.
1 Kings 11 and start at verse 1.
Verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go in to them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love.
So here's his downfall right here, okay? He had so many wives of the other nations that they started serving other gods, and they influenced him to do the same, right? And this is why the Most High tell us to stay away from these other nations, right? Because while you trying to teach the law, statutes, and commandments and Israelite heritage, they trying to teach Buddha. You know what I'm saying? Or their God. And let me show you why. Give me Psalms 96 and 5 real quick. Okay? The other nations, they're not interested in the things of the Heavenly Father until it's time for death and destruction. Then they might listen. You know what I'm saying? Once they find out their judgment according to the scriptures, then they might want to listen. But even then, a lot of them still bug out and they off. You know what I'm saying? Give me Psalms 96 and 5, then come back.
Psalms 96 and 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols.
They're what?
They are all idols. But the Lord made the heavens.
Right, so we're going to leave it at that. That's why you shouldn't deal with the other nations, because their gods are idols, okay? That's it. While we're dealing with the true and living God, okay? The only creator, his name is Yahweh, meaning he exists. He was, he is, and he will always be, all right? The self-existing one. That's our power. That's our God. Give me verse 3.
Verse 3. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart.
Right. They took his mind away from the Most High. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know how he was able to still continue to do the business of the Most High at a high level. You know what I'm saying? Without thinking about who you gonna be with tonight, or I mean, it was just, it's madness. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead though.
Verse 4. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord.
He did what?
He did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Then did Solomon build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Moloch, the abomination of the children of Ammon.
Right.
And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods.
See? So in a nutshell, there it is right there. He went off, you know, and that's where David didn't do that. David might have committed a sin, but David repented for the rest of his life. Okay, he did commit murder and adultery, but he didn't go off and start serving other gods. You know, if you understand anything about sin, that's a whole nother level. Now you just a full reprobate. You know what I'm saying? All right, but read a couple more verses and then I'm going to give a little bit of edification and then we're done. I'm going to use all my time. Give me 9, 10, and 11.
Verses?
And that's it.
Con. And the Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart was turned from the Lord of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods. But he kept not that which the Lord commanded.
Right, he disobeyed. Continue.
Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, forasmuch as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant.
Does anybody know what the word rend means? R-E-N-D? Con. You got another one? Yep, give up. What else? What you got, sis? She said it, to break away or tear. So he said, I'm gonna tear or take away or rend the kingdom from you. You see what I'm saying? You're not gonna lead my people anymore. So that's the judgment, right? But go ahead.
Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son.
No. You didn't read verse 12.
Oh, my bad. Verse 12. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son.
So he said, however, I'm not going to do it while you're leading. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to let you finish out because you're done anyway. You already sinned. You sinned against me. Your heart is turned away. But he said, guess what? Your son is up next, and I'm going to rend it out of his hand. Okay? So let me give a little small history, and then we're almost done. Does anybody know the name of Solomon's son? Huh? Say it again, brother. Rehoboam. Good job. All praises. So Rehoboam is up next, but he's going to rend the kingdom out of his hand because of what Solomon did, right? So does anybody know the three, it's called the United Kingdom. What three kings led the United Kingdom? Solomon was the last of the three. Who was the first king of Israel? Saul, David, and Solomon. And what all did they have in common besides being Israelites? How long did each of them rule? They all ruled for the same amount of time. Said 40 years. My sister Bakwash said it. Saul ruled 40, King David ruled 40, and Solomon ruled 40. All right? We also was in the wilderness. You know, 40 is a significant number, right? We was in the wilderness 40 years. Yahushua fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. It's a lot of different numbers. Right. The United Kingdom, meaning northern and southern together. But what Solomon did, the kingdom split. So that's how we are now. You know what I'm saying? Northern kingdom and southern kingdom are beefing because of what Solomon did up until this very day. You see what I'm saying? And that's what Christ's job is to do, is to bring what? The northern and the southern kingdom back together and make them one house or one family again. You see what I'm saying? Right? Because a lot of our people were called Gentiles in the New Testament because they went off and started living like the other nations. If you was an Israelite and you celebrated 4th of July this past weekend, the Most High will call you a Gentile. You see what I'm saying? Even though your bloodline is of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you're really an Israelite, right? But spiritually, you a Gentile, you a heathen, because you're not coming back to the law. So you got that? All right, so almost done. King Rehoboam was the son of King Solomon. He became the first king of Judah, which is the southern kingdom. And he ruled from 931 BC to 915 BC, which is a total of 17 years. All right? So remember, when they had the split after Solomon, you had a northern kingdom king and a southern kingdom king. All right? On the other side was King Jeroboam the first, which was the son of Nebat. Right? And he became the first king of Israel, which is the northern kingdom. And he ruled from 931 BC to 910 BC, roughly about 21 and a half to 22 years, okay? So what we got to remember is before the kingdom was split, because of King Solomon's sin, Israel was one united kingdom under Saul, then King David, then King Solomon, and each of them ruled 40 years respectively, okay? And just to bring, we're going to get one more precept. You know what? I got about 3 to 5 minutes. We're going to finish this off. I got 2 more precepts and we're done. 1 Kings 11 and 14 real quick, and then we're going to drop down. This is the Most High sending the adversary against Solomon. And that's what the Most High does to us. Once he see you, oh, you want to act up? You know what I'm saying? You tasted the spiritual good things. You know you're an Israelite. You've been keeping the commandments, keeping the feast days. Now you want to really go off? You know what I'm saying? That's when the Most High send that drive-by shooter or that Edomite that's going to be a thorn in your side, or he send that cancer in your breast. He know how to get right back at you. You see what I'm saying? And this is what he did to Solomon, okay? He sent them an adversary. So read that. 1 Kings 11 and 14.
And the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite.
What was his name?
Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom.
And we'll leave it at that. You see what I'm saying? So you guys already know. Hadad the Edomite. And the Edomite is going to do his job. You know what I'm saying? They suppress us real good. The Most High gave us into their hands. And they still ruling over us until this day. So all the way from Deuteronomy 28 and 15, when the curses started, all the way down to 68, who did he sell us to when we got off the ships, brother? So-called white men, right? Europeans, Edomites. So the Edomites know how to get at us. So that's what he did. I got somebody for you, Solomon. Since you want to go off like that, you know what I'm saying? I got an Edomite that's going to get at you. And that's what the Most High does. Last precepts, drop down to verse 40 through 43. Salakia. 1 Kings chapter 11, 40 through 43. And then we're done.
Verse 40. Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shishak, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon.
Jeroboam shook the spot. So at this time, hey, just like Saul was trying to kill David, that's when you know the spirit is taken away. You're a reprobate now. The same thing. The Most High took the spirit away from Solomon because of his sin. Now Solomon trying to kill Jeroboam because Jeroboam is up next, right?
Unto Shishak, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. And the rest of the acts of Solomon and all that he did, and his wisdom.
And his what?
And his wisdom. And are they not written in the books of the acts of Solomon? And the time of Solomon, that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel, was 40 years.
40 years, like we know. Last one.
And Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his father. And Rehoboam his son reigned in his stead.
And that's going to be it for right now. Do my brother got any edification you want to bring out?
No. That's about it.
Well, you know, all praises to the Most High. The lesson is over. We hope you've been edified, Israel, by the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Thanks for tuning in, all right? And hopefully you guys will tune in on Friday for the Sabbath class at 7:30 p.m., all right? Hope you got some edification about the life and wisdom of King Solomon. And with that, we're going to say shalom.
Shalom.